Hi, I'm Donna Kelce, Taylor Swift's mother-in-law, and I need to tell you something that nobody else is going to tell you, because everybody saw the wedding. Everybody saw Madison Square Garden lit up like a dream. They saw the dress. They saw Adam Sandler standing at that altar trying not to cry and failing. They saw Travis, my boy, standing there in white Dior with his hands shaking so bad that Jason had to put a hand on his shoulder just to steady him. They saw Taylor walk in, and they heard the sound that went through 1,000 people all at once. That sound you can't make on purpose, the one that just comes out of a room when something true is happening. Everybody saw all of that. Nobody saw the next morning. I did. And I'm going to tell you about it. Not because it's dramatic, not because it went wrong, but because what happened in those quiet hours, when the flowers were wilting and the last car had gone, and the greatest night of my son's life had turned into just another July morning, that is the moment I understood what this marriage actually is. That is the moment I stopped worrying. So sit with me a while. This won't take long. And I promise you, by the time we're done, you're going to feel something you didn't expect to feel today. Part 1. The night before the morning. July 3rd, 2026. Madison Square Garden, New York City. I have been to a lot of things in my life. I raised 2 boys who played football at the highest level this country has to offer. I sat in stadiums in January cold that got into your bones and stayed there. I watched Travis catch passes in Super Bowls with my heart so far up in my throat I couldn't have told you my own name. I have stood on sidelines and in suites and in parking lots in the rain, waiting for my sons to come out of locker rooms. I have never felt anything like walking into Madison Square Garden on the evening of July 3rd. They had turned it into something I do not have the right words for. Green and white. Real flowers everywhere. Not the grocery store kind. The kind that smell like something. The kind that make you stop and look at them before you even know you're stopping. There were trees. I do not know how they got trees into Madison Square Garden, but there were trees, and the light coming through the arrangement of it all made the whole space feel like somewhere that could not possibly exist inside a city. I wore a pale blue dress. Ed was in a dark suit. He kept straightening his tie, and I kept telling him it was fine, and he kept straightening it again. Jason was already there. Best man. He had that look on his face that Jason gets when he is holding something in, that tight-jawed, bright-eyed look that means he is about 30 seconds from losing it completely. Kylie had her hand in his arm and she was squeezing it. Little Wyatt was in a white dress with a sash, and she kept spinning to watch it flare out. Elliot was holding a small bouquet so seriously, like the fate of the evening depended on her grip. Bennett had fallen asleep on Kylie's shoulder in the SUV on the way over, and woken up just in time, and still had that confused, soft look of a child who is not sure yet what decade she is in. And Finley, little Finn, 4 months old, was in Jason's arms, dressed in something white and ruffled, looking at the lights with the wide, slow blink of a baby who has decided the world is acceptable. I looked at my family standing there in that green and white impossible room. I thought about Euclid, Ohio. I thought about the backyard on Highland Road. I thought about Travis at 9 years old, too big for his age, too loud for any room, dragging Jason into everything and out of nothing. I thought about Ed coaching those boys in the driveway. I thought about the years that seemed like they would never end, and now seemed like they had lasted about 45 minutes. Then Travis came in. He was already dressed. Jason had been with him backstage, and I had not seen him yet, and when he walked through that door, my son, 6 feet 5 inches of him, in white Dior that somehow fit him like he had been born to wear it, I did not trust myself. He came straight to me. He did not say anything for a moment. He just put both arms around me and held on, and I held on back, and we stood there in the middle of Madison Square Garden while people moved around us, and lights shifted, and music played somewhere distant, and we just held on. "You good?" I said into his shoulder. "No," he said, and he laughed. "Just a little. I'm really not." "Good," I told him. "That means you understand what's happening." He pulled back and looked at me. His eyes were already going. Travis has never been a man who could hide what he feels. Some people think that is a weakness. I have always known it is his greatest strength. "She's really coming," he said. "She's really coming," I said. He nodded. He straightened himself up the way he used to do before games. That same roll of the shoulders, that same breath. 36 years old and still doing the same thing he did at 16 before he ran out of the tunnel. "Okay," he said. And he went and took his place. "I will not give you all of the ceremony. It belongs to them. But I will give you a few things because they matter for what comes later." Travis cried. He cried before she even reached him. The doors opened, and the first notes of whatever they had chosen played, and every head in that room turned, and Travis turned with everyone else, and the moment he saw her, the moment that dress came into his sight, and that face came into his sight, he was gone. Completely gone. He put one hand over his mouth, and Jason put a hand on his back, and Travis just stood there with his eyes full, watching her walk toward him like a man who cannot believe his own life. One of the guests, I found out later, said he had never seen a groom cry before the bride even reached the altar. He said he had been to 40 weddings. He said he had never seen anything like it. I believed him. I have never seen anything like it either, and I am his mother. Taylor's vows. I cannot tell you the words. I will not. Those words belong to my son, and to his wife, and to that room that night. But I will tell you that she sang part of them. She stopped reading and she sang. Just her voice, no music, in the middle of Madison Square Garden, in front of 1,000 people, including Paul McCartney and Stevie Nicks. And she sang to my son like there was no one else there. Travis did not stand up straight for that part. Travis bent forward a little, like the sound of it had a physical weight, like he needed to brace against it. Jason was done pretending to hold it together. I saw him reach up and wipe his face once, quick, the way a man does when he thinks nobody is watching. I was watching. After that, Adam Sandler, who I will tell you is a genuinely lovely man, funnier than you think and kinder than the movies give him credit for, said the words. He said them straight. He said them like he meant them, not like a comedian doing a bit, like a friend who was honored to be there and knew it. And Travis said, "I do." And Taylor said, "I do." And the room made that sound again. Then my son picked up his wife, just picked her up, one arm behind her knees, the other at her back, that enormous man lifting her like she weighed nothing at all, and he kissed her. And the sign outside lit up. Justin T. married. And that 1,000 people came up out of their seats. I stayed in mine for just a moment. I wanted to see it before it became memory. I wanted to hold it while it was still real. Ed reached over and took my hand. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. The reception was Paul McCartney playing. It was Stevie Nicks. It was arcade games in the back of the room. Travis had insisted on that. He said no wedding should take itself too seriously, and a license plate that said Justin T. MRD, and the kind of dancing that only happens when people have been happy for a long time and have finally been given permission to show it. Travis and Taylor danced the first dance, and he was not smooth about it, and that was the best part. He was trying. He was so genuinely trying, and she was laughing at him while they danced. That real laugh, the one she has, the one that makes her whole face change, and he was grinning at her, like a boy who has just been told he won and cannot quite figure out how. Wyatt danced with Jason. Elliot fell asleep in a chair around midnight, still holding her bouquet. Finley had been taken back to the hotel by then, by a member of Kylie's family, sensibly. Bennett stayed awake longer than anyone expected, and at one point was found sitting on the floor near the arcade games, eating something she had located from an unknown source. Donna Kelce's family, unchanged since Euclid, Ohio. I danced with Ed. I danced with Travis once, just the two of us, toward the end of the night when the crowd had thinned a little and the music had slowed. He held my hand the way he did when he was small, when he used to grab my hand in parking lots so he wouldn't get lost. "Mom," he said. "I know," I said. He nodded. We danced. It was past 2 in the morning when the last of it wound down. The cars came, people spilled out into the New York night, into the July heat, onto the streets that had been closed for them. Taylor's people, Travis's people, both families, old friends, new friends, people who had flown in from places I had never been. Travis and Taylor left together. I watched them go. They were laughing at something, I don't know what, I was too far away. And she had taken her shoes off and was carrying them in one hand, and his jacket was around her shoulders, and they disappeared into the car, and the car pulled away. I stood on the sidewalk outside Madison Square Garden at 2:30 in the morning in July in New York City. I thought, that's done now. That beautiful thing is done, and it will never happen again, and they are married. I went back to the hotel. I did not sleep much. Part 2, 4:53 in the morning. Here is what I knew that nobody else in that hotel was thinking about yet. Travis Kelce's alarm was set for 4:45 a.m. Not because he wanted it to be, because the Kansas City Chiefs training camp at Missouri Western State University in St. Joseph does not care that you just got married at Madison Square Garden in front of Paul McCartney. The NFL does not care. The schedule does not care. Travis had negotiated everything he could negotiate. He had pushed back every commitment he was able to push back. He had arranged the wedding for the July 4th weekend specifically to buy himself an extra day. But the extra day was Sunday. And Sunday was almost over. Travis Kelce, newly married, had to be on a practice field in Missouri on Monday morning. That was not negotiable. That was the contract he had signed. 3 years, $54 million, one more run at a Super Bowl. He had made that choice with open eyes, and he had made it with Taylor standing beside him when he signed it. He had made it. She had supported it. None of that makes 4:45 a.m. on the morning after your wedding feel like anything other than what it is. I know this because at 4:53 in the morning, my phone rang. It was Travis. I was awake. I told you I didn't sleep much. Hey, I said. He was quiet for a moment. I could hear him, hear the hotel room around him. I could hear him breathing. She's asleep, he said. His voice was low. The voice he uses when he doesn't want to wake someone up. I've been sitting here for like 20 minutes just watching her sleep. Mom, I can't make myself get up. I didn't say anything yet. I set the alarm for 4:45, he said. I turned it off before it rang because I didn't want it to wake her up. And now I've been sitting here, and I keep thinking, what kind of person does this? What kind of person leaves on this morning? A person who made a promise, I said. I made a promise to her last night, too. I know. Those two things are fighting each other right now. I know that, too. He was quiet again. Out the window of wherever I was in that hotel, I could see New York beginning. That first gray that happens before anything else happens. The city does not sleep, but it does get quiet, and this was the quiet part. She knew, Travis said. She knew about camp. She knew the whole time. She never once asked me to change it. She helped me figure out the schedule, and she never complained. And last night she told me she was proud of me for going back, and she meant it. She did mean it. So why do I feel like I'm doing something wrong? I thought about how to answer that. I thought about Ed, decades ago, leaving for things that needed leaving for. I thought about what it costs and what it means, and what the difference is between a sacrifice and an abdication. Because you love her, I said. And love doesn't make the math easier. It just makes you care more about getting it right. He breathed out. I wrote her a note, he said, on hotel paper. I left it on the pillow on my side. I don't even know if it's good. I wrote it 3 times. What did you say? I said, he stopped. I said I was sorry the morning had to be this one. I said I would rather be nowhere in the world than in that bed next to her. I said that going didn't mean leaving. And I said, another pause, longer. I said I would spend every morning for the rest of my life making this one up to her. I did not say anything for a moment because I did not trust what would come out. Travis, I finally said. Yeah. Go, get your bag, get in the car, go to camp. Yeah. That note is enough. You are enough. Go be the man you told her you were. A long silence. Okay, he said. Call me when you land. Okay, Mom? What? Thank you for picking up. I always pick up, I said. You know that. He hung up. I sat in the gray early morning of New York City, and I thought about my boy at 36 years old, sitting on the edge of a hotel bed in the dark, watching his wife sleep, trying to figure out how to be everything he said he would be. I thought he was already doing it. Part 3, 9:14, in the morning. Taylor called me at 9:14. I was having coffee in the hotel restaurant with Ed. Ed was reading something on his phone. I saw her name come up and I stepped away from the table. Good morning, I said. Good morning, her voice was careful. Not upset, not dramatic, just careful. The way a person is when they're feeling something and trying to figure out the right words for it first. Did he call you? Before he left? He did, I said. She was quiet for a moment. I heard her exhale. I woke up and he was gone, and there was a note on the pillow, and I read it, She stopped. I don't know why I'm calling you. I think I just needed to talk to someone who loves him the way I do. I stepped further away from the tables, toward the window. New York outside, fully awake now, the 4th of July morning with flags everywhere and the city moving. He sat on that bed for 20 minutes, I said. He turned off the alarm before it went off so it wouldn't wake you. He wrote that note 3 times. Silence. 3 times, she said. 3 times. He called me because he couldn't make himself leave and needed someone to tell him it was all right to go. Another silence. This one different. This one the kind that happens when something settles. He didn't have to do that, she said. I told him I understood. I do understand. I have never once. I know, I said. He knows. That's not the point. The point is that he's the kind of man who needs to feel it anyway, who can't just know something is okay. He has to feel it being okay. And this morning it wasn't okay yet. It was just true. She was quiet for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. Something in it that had been tight had come loose. I woke up and I looked at that note, she said, and I thought, this is the man. This is exactly the man. A breath. People are going to ask me what marriage feels like, and I'm going to think about this morning. I'm going to think about a note on a pillow that somebody wrote 3 times. You can't put that in a song, I said. She laughed. Just a little, just enough. I can't put that in a song, she agreed. Some things you just keep. Some things you just keep, I said. We talked for a while longer, not about anything serious, about the night before, about Wyatt spinning in her dress, about Elliot and the bouquet, about Bennett and the mysterious food, about Finley who had missed everything and would one day be told she was there and would have to take everyone's word for it, about Jason's face when Travis said the words, about Ed straightening his tie, about the trees in Madison Square Garden. Before she hung up, she said one more thing. She said it quietly, the way you say things that matter. Donna, she said. Yes. Thank you for raising him the way you did. I stood at that window for a long time after the call ended. Long enough that Ed came and found me. He stood beside me and looked out at New York and didn't ask what was wrong because he could see that nothing was. Travis, he said. Taylor, I said. He nodded. He put his arm around my shoulders. We stood there together at the window while the 4th of July morning opened up below us. Part 4. The Note. Travis told me later what he wrote. Not that day. Weeks later, when we were on the phone and talking about something else, and it came up the way things come up. He said the first version was too long. He said he started explaining himself and realized halfway through that he didn't need to explain. She already understood. Explaining would have been for him, not for her. The second version was too short. He said it felt like a text message. He said it didn't carry the weight of what he was feeling. He said he sat there looking at it, and it looked like something you'd leave if you were running out to get coffee, not something you'd leave on the morning after the most important night of your life. The third version he wrote straight through without stopping. He said he stopped thinking about what it should say and just wrote what was true. He told me he had kept all 3 versions, not together. The first 2 he had folded and put in his jacket pocket. The third one he had put on the pillow. He said he didn't know why he kept the first 2. He said maybe someday he'd show her, maybe someday it would be funny, or maybe it would just be good for her to see that he had tried to get it right, that it wasn't careless, that it was worked for. I told him that sounded like him. He said he guessed it did. Part 5. What training camp looked like. Travis landed in St. Joseph, Missouri, on the afternoon of July 4th. His teammate, when he walked into the facility, said, and this was told to me secondhand by someone who was there, his teammate looked up and said, "You really came." And Travis said, "I told you I'd be here." And the teammate said, "Man, you just got married yesterday." And Travis said, "I know, but I made a commitment." He put on his practice gear. He went out onto the field. He ran routes in the Missouri July heat, which is a specific and personal kind of suffering that I know because I have stood in it. He caught passes. He did the work. At practice, the coaches did not treat him differently. The NFL does not do sentiment. You show up or you don't show up. Travis showed up. After practice, in the locker room, Travis sat at his locker and looked at his phone. There was a message from Taylor, just a few words. I don't know what it said. He has never told me, and I have never asked, but I know what his face did when he read it because someone took a photo and sent it to me, without knowing what it meant. He was sitting there in his practice gear, hair damp, still catching his breath from 2 hours in Missouri heat, and he was reading something on his phone, and his face, that big, open face, the one that cannot hide anything, was doing something that I do not have a word for exactly. Not happy. Not sad. Settled. Like a man who has checked something important and found it where he left it. Part 6. What Taylor did that day. I will tell you what Taylor did on July 4th, 2026. She did not mope. She did not stay in the hotel room. She did not call her people and complain or tweet cryptically or do any of the things that a person of considerably less character might have done in her position. She put on a dress and went to the Macy's 4th of July celebration on the waterfront. She stood there in the New York heat and she watched the fireworks go up over the water. She was with a small group of her people, not a production, not an event, just a group of people watching fireworks on the 4th of July. Someone took a photo. She was not performing for the camera, she was just looking up. That face I have come to know, that particular Taylor Swift face when she is genuinely feeling something, not presenting it, actually feeling it, was looking up at the sky. I know what she was thinking about. I can't prove it. But I know. She was thinking about a note written 3 times on hotel paper. She was thinking about a man on a practice field in Missouri heat. She was thinking about Jason's face and Wyatt's dress, and Elliot and the bouquet, and Finley blinking at the lights. She was thinking about the rest of it, all the ordinary Sundays and all the ordinary mornings, all the alarm clocks and all the departures and all the notes that would never be written as carefully as that first one, but would mean just as much. She was thinking about her marriage, her first real day of it. Part 7. What I know now. People have asked me since then what I think about the two of them. What I think about Taylor, what I think about what this looks like from the inside, from the place where I sit, which is the place of the woman who raised the man she married. I will tell you what I think. I think I raised Travis to be a lot of things. I raised him to be tough because the world requires it. I raised him to be funny because life without laughter is just endurance. I raised him to show up because showing up is the whole thing. It is the job and the marriage and the friendship and the family. It is every single thing. You show up or you don't. Travis shows up. But I could not raise him to know how to be loved the right way. That is not something a mother can give a child. That is something they have to find. And some people never find it. And some people find something close to it and spend their lives adjusting. And some people, if they are very lucky, if they are the kind of lucky that makes you believe in something larger than luck, find the exact right person. Taylor Swift is the exact right person for my son. Not because she is famous, not because she is talented, though she is more talented than I have words for. Not because of any of the things the world knows about her, because when my son called me at 4:53 in the morning, unable to leave a hotel room, she had already told him it was okay to go. Because when she woke up and he was gone, she called me not to be upset, but to understand. Because she asked me to tell her what he had done, and when I told her, she said, "That's the man," and she meant it. Because she loves him the way he deserves to be loved, which is completely and without keeping score. I did not always know if Travis would find that. I hoped. But hope is not the same as knowing. You love your children and you hope for them, and sometimes it works out. This one worked out. Part 8. What Jason said. 2 weeks after the wedding, I was on the phone with Jason. Jason had given a short interview somewhere, a podcast, I think, one of the football ones he does, and someone had asked him about Travis, about the marriage, about how Travis seemed. Jason had said, "Remarkable." Just that word. Remarkable. I asked him what he meant by it when we talked. He said, "You know how some people get married and you can see right away that it changed them? Like something got smaller, like they gave something up? I said I knew what he meant. Travis got bigger, Jason said. That's the only way I can describe it. Like he expanded, like there was more of him. You look at him now and there's just more ease, more certainty, more of whatever the thing is that makes Travis Travis. He paused. Taylor did that, he said. She didn't make him smaller to fit her life. She made room for all of him. Every loud, giant, too much piece of him. And that made him, I don't know, more himself. I thought about that for a long time after we hung up. More himself. That is the thing, isn't it? That is the whole thing. You spend your life trying to be the person you actually are, trying to find the room for all of it, and the world is always making you smaller. The world is always saying too much, too loud, too big, slow down, quiet down, fit. And then once in a while a person comes along who says, no, all of it, bring all of it. Taylor Swift looked at every loud, giant, too much piece of my son and said all of it. And he became more himself. Part 9, the 50-year mourning. I want to tell you about something that hasn't happened yet. I want to tell you about something that will. 50 years from now, give or take, the math is flexible, life is flexible, there will be a mourning. Somewhere, in whatever house they end up in whatever city or state or country that life carries them to, there will be an ordinary morning. Coffee made, light coming in, the sounds of a house that has been lived in for a long time. And someone will be telling this story. Maybe it will be Travis, sitting at a kitchen table, telling a grandchild or a great-grandchild about the morning after the best night of his life, when he could not make himself leave. Maybe it will be Taylor, telling someone about waking up alone to a note on a pillow that had been written 3 times. Maybe it will be one of Jason's girls, Wyatt or Elliot or Bennett or Finn, telling a child of their own about the uncle who cried before the bride even reached him, about the aunt who sang her vows in the middle of Madison Square Garden. Maybe it will be no one. Maybe it will just live in the cells of the family, the way certain things do, the way certain true things settle into the bone of a family and stay there, unnamed, unforgotten. But it will be there. That morning will be there. That 4:53 a.m. phone call. That note written 3 times. That woman watching the fireworks in a dress on the 4th of July, looking up at the sky alone and not minding it because she understood what it meant. I will tell you what it meant. It meant I married someone who keeps his promises, even the hard ones, even the ones that cost something, even on the morning when the cost is highest. He keeps them. That is what you build 50 years on. Not the dress, not the arena, not Paul McCartney or the trees, or the 1,000 people, or the sign outside that said Justin T. married. A note written 3 times. A man who turned off his alarm before it rang so she could sleep. A phone call at 4:53 in the morning that started with, he said he couldn't make himself leave, and ended with, go, you're enough. Go be the man you told her you were. That is the foundation. I have been a mother for a long time. I have watched my boys become men, and I have hoped the right things for them. And sometimes I have been right, and sometimes I have been wrong. On this one, I was right. My son found the one. And on the morning after the most beautiful night of his life, he showed her who he was. And she already knew. If you are a mother watching your children love someone, watch how they leave. Watch how they go when the going is hard. Watch what they do when no one is looking, and the morning is early, and the choice is expensive. That is where the character lives. Not in the vows, not in the dress. In the 4:53 a.m. moment, when they could stay or go, and they choose right. Travis chose right. Taylor knew he would. I always knew he could. That's all I wanted to tell you. I'm Donna Kelce, Taylor Swift's mother-in-law, and I am the luckiest woman in Ohio. Thank you for sitting with me today. End. Extended narrative, the full story. Part 10. Euclid, Ohio, where it all started. Let me take you back further, because you can't understand that morning without understanding where Travis came from. And where Travis came from is a place called Euclid, Ohio, which is a suburb of Cleveland that does not make the travel magazines and does not need to. It is a working town. It was a manufacturing town for a long time, And then it was the kind of town that had been a manufacturing town and was figuring out what to be next. Ed worked. I worked. We raised 2 boys in a house on Highland Road with a driveway that Ed turned into a classroom every weekend, because if you want to teach boys something, you have to put it in their hands. Jason was the older one, steady, methodical. The kind of boy who, even at 8 years old, looked at a problem from all sides before he touched it. You could always see Jason thinking. He wore it on his face like a ticker tape. Travis was the other kind. Travis came into the world loud and stayed that way. He was the kind of child who filled a room not because he was trying to, but because that was simply what he was. He was enormous from the beginning, not just physically, though he was always the biggest in his class, always the kid that other parents' eyes went to first when they walked into a room, but enormous in the way he occupied space, the way his laugh went, the way he got invested in things. Whatever Travis cared about, he cared about completely. He did not have a volume knob. He did not have a halfway setting. Ed used to say, "Travis is not a thermostat. Travis is a furnace." He meant it as a compliment. It was. The driveway at Highland Road. I want you to see it. Cracked asphalt, one end to the other maybe 40 feet. A basketball hoop Ed had put up and re-anchored twice because the boys kept hanging on it until the concrete cracked. A football, always a football somewhere in that driveway. The neighbor's oak tree, dropping leaves every fall onto Ed's car, and Ed muttering about it every year, and never once doing anything about it, because that was Ed's relationship with things that couldn't be helped. Saturday mornings. That is where I put this. Saturday mornings in Euclid in October, when the leaves were coming down and the air had that particular Lake Erie chill that gets into your sinuses and stays there until April. Ed would be out in the driveway before the boys were even awake, setting things up, running patterns in his head. He coached them with the same seriousness he brought to everything else in his life, which is to say completely, and without apology, and with a deep love underneath it that he did not always say out loud, because that was not how Ed was built, but that was always, always there. Travis would come out in whatever he slept in, usually a too big t-shirt from some team somewhere and sweatpants that were already too short, and his hair would be the way it was when he woke up, which was spectacular, and he would grab the football before he even said good morning. Jason would come out with his jacket zipped. They would run routes until I called them in for breakfast. They would come in red-faced and breathing hard and competing over everything. Who ran the better pattern, who caught the harder ball, who made the best cut. The way brothers compete over everything, which is to say viciously and lovingly and without any real malice. I fed them. That was my part. The driveway was Ed's, the kitchen was mine. I made food and they ate it the way boys eat, which is constantly and without ceremony, and with a speed that always made me feel like I had not made enough even when I clearly had. I am telling you this because that driveway is where Travis learned to show up. Not on the practice fields, not at the University of Cincinnati, not in Kansas City. In Euclid, Ohio, on cracked asphalt, in October cold, before the leaves had finished falling. Ed taught them both. You show up. Whatever the day, whatever the weather, whatever else is going on, you show up and you do the work, and you do not make exceptions for yourself that you would not make for someone else. Travis took that lesson and put it in his body. It lives there now. It is as much a part of him as the size of him, or the laugh of him, or the way he holds on to people when he hugs them. And Travis hugs people like he means it, like he is trying to communicate something through the physical contact of it, like he has something important to say, and this is the truest way to say it. The 4:53 a.m. call, the decision to get up and go to camp. That was Euclid, Ohio. That was Ed in the driveway. That was 30-plus years of learning that showing up is the whole job. Taylor Swift did not marry a man who was born knowing that. She married a man who was taught it. She married the product of a driveway in Euclid and a father who never let his boys believe the weather was a good enough reason. I am grateful every day that Ed was that man. Part 11, The Thing About Taylor. I want to talk about Taylor for a moment. Just Taylor, not Taylor Swift the phenomenon, not the albums or the tours or the numbers that people recite about her that don't sound real, because they aren't. They're too large to be real. They belong to a category of thing that the human brain is not built to process. Just Taylor, the woman who came into our family. The first time I met her, I was nervous. I will say that plainly. I was nervous in a way I am not usually nervous, because usually when I meet someone, I know roughly what to expect. I know the shape of the encounter. I know what kind of person is walking toward me, and I know how to meet them. I did not know what was walking toward me that first time. What walked toward me was a tall young woman with kind eyes who looked me directly in the face when she shook my hand and said she had heard so much about me and meant it. Who did not perform being pleased to meet me, who was just pleased. Openly, simply, without any of the machinery you might expect from a person who lives the way she lives and is known the way she is known. Travis was watching us the way sons watch when they have brought someone home who matters. That held breath sideways attention, trying to look casual, failing completely. I could see him from the corner of my eye, pretending to be interested in something across the room. She leaned over at some point. I don't remember the exact moment, I remember the feeling of it, and said something to me quietly. Something about being grateful. About what it meant to her to be included. About how much she loved how much Travis loved his family. She said, "He talks about you all the time." She said it the way you say something when it is simply true and you see no reason not to say it. I thought then, this one is real. Not the feelings. I had suspected the feelings were real for a while, from watching Travis. Travis is not a man who can pretend to feel things he doesn't feel, or not feel things he does. You always know where you are with Travis. I mean her. This one is real. What she is presenting is what she is. That matters more than people know. At the level she operates at the level where everything is observed and everything is commented on, and everything you do or say or wear or feel becomes material for some part of the internet, to still be real, to still be simply what you are, is not easy. Most people get worn away by it. Most people develop a surface that doesn't match what's underneath. They have to. It is protective. Taylor had not let that happen to herself. I do not know entirely how. I imagine it has something to do with the parents she was raised by. I imagine it has something to do with some quality in her that I can see but not name, some stubbornness, some fundamental refusal. Whatever it is there. I see it every time. The morning after the wedding, when she called me, that was it. She did not call to be reassured. She did not call to process her feelings in a way that required me to manage her. She called because she wanted to understand, and she thought I could help her understand. That is a real person. That is someone who, when something confuses them, goes toward the confusion instead of away from it. That is someone worthy of my son. Part 12. The Security Conversation. 3 weeks after the wedding, Travis called me on a regular afternoon. Not an emergency, just calling. He does this, always has, since college. He calls when he's driving somewhere, or sitting in a locker room or waiting for something. He fills the quiet by connecting with people he loves. It is one of my favorite things about him. We talked about camp. We talked about the heat in Missouri, which is, as I said, a specific and personal suffering. We talked about his routes, about where he thought the offense was headed this season, about Patrick Mahomes, about Andy Reid, normal things, football things, the language of our family. Then he went quiet for a moment, in the way that means something else is coming. "Can I tell you something?" he said. "Always. Taylor's security team it's a lot." He said it carefully, choosing the words. "Like not bad, not wrong, it's necessary. I understand why it exists. But it takes getting used to." He described what I had already read about in some form or another, but which sounds very different when your son is describing it to you in his own words. The armored vehicles, the advanced planning, the coordinated entrances and exits, the way that any impulse he might have, let's go here, let's do this, let's call so-and-so and see if they want to come, has to be routed through a process that can take hours. The way that his old life, which was spontaneous and sometimes chaotic in the way that felt alive, now requires scheduling in a way that sometimes makes him feel like he is living inside a very elegant machine. "I was talking to Jason about it," he said. "Jason said something that really hit me." "What did he say?" "He said, you know what you signed up for when you sign up to protect someone you love? You sign up for the inconvenience. The inconvenience is the point. The inconvenience is how you know you're serious." I thought about that. "Jason's getting smart in his old age," I said. Travis laughed. That real one. Don't tell him that. He'll be insufferable. What did Taylor say when you talked to her about it? Another pause. She said she was sorry. She said she knew it was a lot and she was sorry I had to deal with it and she wished it could be different. He paused. And then she said something I keep thinking about. She said, I spent a long time being afraid, and I don't want to be afraid anymore, but I also can't pretend the reasons for the fear aren't real. And then she said, the security isn't for me anymore. It's for you. It's for our family. I can manage my own fear. I can't manage someone hurting the people I love. I held the phone and did not say anything for a moment. She said that? I finally said. She said that. She means it. I know she does. That's why I keep thinking about it. The inconvenience is the point. The security is not for her. It is for the family. I thought about Taylor Swift sitting somewhere making that calculation, deciding that the life she has made, the necessary, sometimes exhausting, always visible life that fame at that scale requires, is worth reorganizing around the people she has chosen to love. Deciding that protecting Travis, protecting Jason, protecting those 4 little girls is worth whatever adjustment it costs her in terms of the freedom she used to have. This is not a small thing. This is someone saying, I choose this family. Fully, including the parts that are inconvenient for me. I called Ed after I hung up with Travis. She's the right one, I said. Ed said, Donna, I've been saying that. He had been saying that. He had been saying it since the first time she came to a game and sat up in that suite and watched Travis with the kind of focus that is not attention, that is something deeper than attention, that is investment. Ed was right. He usually is, even when it takes me longer to get there. Part 13. What Brittany Mahomes said. I want to include this because it matters, and because I know Brittany and I like her, and I think she does not always get credit for being as perceptive as she is. Brittany Mahomes pulled Taylor aside early on. I'm told this, I was not there, and told her how it was. The game days, the cameras, the WAG situation, which is a thing I have opinions about, but will mostly keep to myself, except to say that a group of women connected primarily by the football careers of the men they love is a complicated social ecosystem, and I say that with affection and experience. Brittany went out of her way. She did not have to. She is Patrick's wife, not Travis's wife's social coordinator, but she went out of her way because she understood that Taylor was walking into something that looked simple from the outside and was not, and she decided that making it easier for Taylor was the right thing to do. Taylor told me once, we were on the phone, just talking, that Brittany had said something to her in the early days that she had never forgotten. She did not tell me exactly what it was. She said it was private to Brittany, but she said it had to do with the difference between being present and being on display. With how to be in the stands on a game day without losing yourself to the cameras and the watching. With how to actually watch the game, really watch it, as a fan, as a wife, as a person who loves someone who is out there doing something difficult, rather than performing watching it. Taylor said it had changed something for her. She said after that conversation she started actually watching the football, not performing her watching, actually watching, learning the game, understanding the plays, knowing when something good had happened, not because the crowd told her, but because she could see it. She said she fell in love with the game a little bit. She said she understood, finally, what it gives Travis, what it gives all of them. I thought, Brittany Mahomes just gave my daughter-in-law a gift. I sent Brittany a text. I told her thank you. She sent back a heart emoji and a laughing emoji, and the word, obviously, and that was that. Women taking care of each other. It is the oldest and most necessary system in the world. Part 14. The first game. The Kansas City Chiefs opened their regular season on September 7, 2026. I was there. Ed was there. Jason had flown in. Kylie and the girls were there. Wyatt and Elliot in Chiefs gear that was honestly a little too big for them, and that they were completely unbothered by. Bennett in a jersey with Kelce on the back, that she insisted on wearing backwards for reasons that she had and did not share. Finley was home with a family member, because Finley is 5 months old, and a football stadium in September is not her natural habitat yet, but she will get there. Taylor was there. I want to tell you what it was like to watch Taylor Swift watch her husband play football for the first time as his wife. She sat in the suite the way she always sits in the suite, which is upright, present, engaged, not performing being there, but actually being there. She had her phone in her hand early in the first quarter, and then she put it down and did not pick it back up for the rest of the game. She watched every snap. When Travis lined up, she leaned forward slightly. Not dramatically, not for the cameras, just slightly, the way your body goes when you're watching something you care about and your nervous system is involved. When Travis caught a ball, she did not perform a reaction. She did the actual reaction, which is a kind of full-body thing, both hands going up, weight shifting, the face doing what the face does when something you wanted to happen happens. When Travis got hit, and he got hit several times, because he is a tight end in the NFL and getting hit is the occupation, she did not look away. She watched. She tracked him getting up. When he got up, she exhaled. I could see her exhale from where I was sitting. Wyatt crawled over the seats at some point and ended up next to Taylor, and Taylor put an arm around her without looking down, without breaking her focus on the field, just absorbed Wyatt into the circle of her attention and kept watching. The Chiefs won, 27-17. When it was over and we were filing out, Wyatt looked up at Taylor and said, with the complete authority of a 6-year-old, "Uncle Travis played good today." Taylor looked down at her. "He really did," she said. She looked like she meant it from somewhere very specific, from somewhere that had been watching every snap for 3 hours and knew exactly what good meant in this context. "Are you going to see him now?" Wyatt asked. "As soon as they let me," Taylor said. "Can I come?" Taylor laughed. "You might have to ask your mom about that one." Wyatt turned around and yelled across 3 rows of seats, "Mom, can I go with Taylor to see Uncle Travis?" Kylie's face did something that was equal parts exasperated and delighted. "Sure, Bug," she said. "Go ahead." So the first time Taylor Swift went down to see her husband after his first game as her husband, she had a 6-year-old in a backwards jersey holding her hand. I watched them go. I thought about Euclid, Ohio. I thought about the driveway. I thought about small children holding hands with people they trust and going toward things they love. Some patterns repeat. The good ones always do. Part 15. What Ed said at dinner. The night of that first game we went to dinner. Our family, Ed and me, Jason and Kylie and the girls, Travis and Taylor. A private room somewhere, good food, the particular relief and celebration of a win in September when the season is just beginning and everything still feels possible. Travis was animated the way he always is after a win. He was talking with his hands, replaying things, getting Jason's opinion on the second quarter play that he thought had been called wrong, getting Andy Reid impressions from the table. Travis does a remarkable Andy Reid impression that I should not encourage but always do. Taylor was watching him, not in the surveillance way, not in the attentive, managing way, just watching him the way you watch someone you love when they are in their element and you are glad for them. At some point, Ed, who has been quiet for much of dinner because Ed is a man who saves his words for when they mean something, put down his fork and looked at Travis. "You played well today," Ed said. Travis stopped mid-sentence. Something in him stilled. "Yeah?" he said. Ed nodded. "Your roots were sharp, your hands were good. You were where you were supposed to be." A pause. "I'm proud of you." The table went quiet for a moment. Travis, who has caught passes in Super Bowls, who has stood in front of thousands of people and performed with a kind of ease that looks effortless and is not, who has built a career and a brand and a life on the foundation of not appearing to be affected by things. Travis blinked. Once. Twice. "Thanks, Dad," he said. His voice was even. "But I know my son." Ed picked his fork back up. The table returned to itself. Taylor reached under the table and found Travis's hand. He held on. "I watched that. I see a lot by watching. That is what I saw." Part 16. The morning after the note. Let me go back. Let me go back to July 4th, the morning after the wedding, after Travis had gone and Taylor had woken up alone and read the note and called me. What happened in the hours after our phone call? Taylor, as I told you, went to the Macy's fireworks. She watched them. She was with people she trusted, people who were not going to broadcast her presence, who were going to let her simply be a woman standing on a waterfront watching fireworks on the 4th of July. At one point, her phone buzzed. It was Travis. He had landed. He was at the facility. He had written, "I'm here. I miss you. How are the fireworks?" She wrote back. I do not know exactly what she wrote. She has not told me, and I have not asked. But I know the shape of it because she told me later that it was the first time since they had been together that she had written something to him without thinking about it first, without workshopping it, without considering how it would read or what it would mean, or whether it was too much or too little. She said she just wrote what was true. She said that felt like marriage, not the ceremony, not the vows, not the dress or the trees or the 1,000 people. That moment, writing something true without thinking about it first. She said, I think I finally stopped being nervous around him. On our second day of marriage, standing at the waterfront watching fireworks by myself, I told her, better late than never. She laughed. She said, honestly, yeah. Part 17. What Finley Will Know. I want to come back to Finley, baby Finn. Kylie and Jason's youngest, 4 months old at the wedding, present and accounted for in her white ruffled dress and her wide blinking infant eyes. She will not remember any of it. She was there, but she will have no memory of Madison Square Garden, or the trees, or the lights, or the sound that went through 1,000 people when the doors opened. She will have photographs. She will have the story, which she will hear many times in many forms, as she grows up in the Kelce family, which is a family that tells its stories. She will hear about the night Travis could not stop crying. She will hear about the vows Taylor sang. She will hear about Wyatt spinning in her dress. She will hear about the note written 3 times. She will hear it first from Jason, probably, who tells stories the way he does everything, with the full weight of himself, eyes bright, hands involved, voice going from loud to quiet at exactly the right moments. She will hear it from Kylie, who will give her the practical version, the logistical version, the what actually happened step by step that grounds the story in something real. She will hear it from Travis, who will give her the version where everything is funnier and bigger and more chaotic than it actually was, because that is how Travis experiences his own life. She will hear it from Taylor, I think, who will give her the version that nobody else can give, the inside version, the version of what it felt like to be the woman in the dress in the room with 1,000 people. The version of what she was thinking when she sang her vows, and why she stopped reading and started singing, and what Travis's face did when she did. And she will hear it from me. And I will tell her what I have told you. I will tell her, your uncle loved your aunt completely. And your aunt loved your uncle back in a way that made him more himself. And on the morning after the most beautiful night of their lives, your uncle made a hard choice and made it right. And your aunt showed me who she was. And what she showed me was someone worthy of every bit of what I'd given to raising my son. I will tell her, that is what marriage looks like. Not the ceremony, not the dress, the 4:53 a.m. call, the note written 3 times, the woman standing at the waterfront watching fireworks alone and not minding it because she understood what it meant. Finley will grow up in a world where Taylor Swift is her aunt, where Travis Kelce is her uncle who brings too much energy to every holiday and holds on too long when he hugs you and cannot keep a secret about presents even for 36 hours. She will think this is normal because for her it will be. What I hope she learns, what I hope she understands when she is old enough to understand it, is that the normal parts are not the famous parts. The normal parts are the driveway in Euclid, the early alarm that got turned off, the hotel paper, the 3 drafts. The normal parts are where the love actually lives. Part 18. What I Believe. I am 73 years old. I have been married to Ed Kelce for a very long time. I have raised 2 sons who are better men than I had any right to expect, not because I was a perfect mother, I was not, no such thing exists, but because I tried and Ed tried, and we tried together, and the boys saw us trying, and understood that trying is the whole job. I have watched a lot of love from a lot of distances. I have watched love that looked strong fail because nobody tended it. I have watched love that looked unlikely survive because the people in it refused to let it go. I have watched love that was perfect on the outside rot from the inside, because it was built on the wrong things. And I have watched love that was ordinary and unsexy and unremarkable from the outside hold for 50 years, because it was built on exactly the right things. I know what the right things are. The right things are showing up, choosing the other person when the choice is hard, writing the note a third time because the second one wasn't true enough, calling your mother at 4:53 in the morning, not because you need her to solve something, but because you need someone to tell you that you are already the man you're trying to be. The right things are going to the fireworks alone and being okay with it because you understand what it means. Calling your mother-in-law to find out what your husband did before he left because you want to understand, not because you need to be reassured. Learning to actually watch the football. Putting your arm around a 6-year-old without looking down because she is yours now and you know it and it does not require thought. These are the right things. Travis and Taylor have the right things. I know this not because I am their mother or their mother-in-law and therefore biased, though I am both of those things. I know it because I watched the morning after their wedding. I watched what they each did when they thought nobody was watching, when the cameras were gone and the dress was off and the trees were being taken out of Madison Square Garden and the city was going about its July 4th business. I watched what they did in the quiet. What they did in the quiet is what you build forever on. I am not worried about these two. I have not been worried since 4:53 a.m. on July 4th, 2026. Final. For the mothers, I want to say one last thing. This one is for the mothers. If you are watching your child love someone, if you are sitting in the stands or in the suite or in the quiet of your own home, watching your child navigate the enormous, complicated, beautiful, difficult thing of loving another person and being loved back, here is what I want you to remember. You cannot do it for them, you already know this. But I am saying it again because sometimes we forget. You cannot do it for them. You can raise them, you can give them the driveway and the Saturday mornings and the values and the language for things. You can model what love looks like in the long run, in the ordinary Tuesday of it, in the 30-year Tuesday of it, and hope it goes somewhere in them. And then you let go, and then you watch. And sometimes, if you are very lucky, if you are the kind of lucky that makes you feel like you owe something back to the universe for it, you watch them find the person who shows them who they already are. That is what Taylor did for Travis. She showed him who he already was, and he rose to meet it. That is all any of us can hope for our children, for ourselves. It's enough. It is more than enough. I'm Donna Kelce, Taylor Swift's mother-in-law, and I am grateful every single morning, even the 4:53 ones, especially those. The end. Total runtime estimate, 58 to 62 minutes at standard audiobook pace. Bonus chapter, The Phone Calls Nobody Heard. Part 19, Jason's Call to Travis. There is a phone call that happened on the evening of July 4th, 2026, that Travis told me about later. He told me about it in the way he tells me things that matter to him, sort of sideways, sort of like it came up naturally, when actually, he had been waiting for the right moment to say it. Jason called him at around 7 in the evening. Travis was done with the first day of camp. He was in his room at the team hotel in St. Joseph, Missouri, which is a perfectly functional hotel that is not Madison Square Garden and was not trying to be. Jason had watched the fireworks with Kylie and the girls in New York. He had spent the day doing what Jason does, which is being present in whatever room he is in with his whole self, which is considerable. He called Travis and said, "How was the first day?" Travis said, "Hard, good, hard." Jason said, "Yeah." They were quiet for a moment, in the way brothers are quiet when they have known each other for 36 years, and silence is not absence. Then Jason said, "You did the right thing, going." Travis said, "I know." Taylor knows too. I know that too. Another pause. "She's good," Jason said. It wasn't a question. "She's good," Travis said. "She went to the fireworks." Jason was quiet for a moment. Then he made a sound that Travis described to me as the kind of sound Jason makes when something impresses him, but he does not want to admit how much. "She went to the fireworks," Jason repeated. "By herself. Well, with her people, but without me." Because she understood. Because she understood. Jason breathed out. Travis. Yeah, you picked the right one. Travis said he sat there in that hotel room in Missouri and looked at the ceiling for a moment. I know, he said. I'm happy for you, Jason said. And the way Travis told it to me, the way he said it, I could hear that Jason had meant it in the full weight of the word. Not congratulations. Not well done. Happy. Genuinely, completely, older brother happy, in the way that only works when you have watched someone for their whole life and you know exactly what it costs to get here and what it means to have arrived. Thanks, Jace, Travis said. They talked for another hour. About football, about the Chiefs' offensive scheme, about Wyatt's dress and the spinning, and how Elliott had held that bouquet like it was classified material, about Finley blinking at the lights, about nothing and everything. That is brothers. That is family. Part 20, the second note. Travis told me about this later too, much later. October, I think. We were on the phone and the Chiefs had just won, and he was in a good mood and things were coming out. He said, after the first week of camp, when he came home, came to wherever home was, Nashville, the Brentwood house, wherever Taylor was, he found something on his pillow. She had left him a note. He would not tell me exactly what it said. He said it was his. He said it in the same voice I had used when I said about his note. Some things you just keep. But he told me what it felt like to find it. He said he had been traveling and working and exhausted in the way that camp makes you exhausted, which is a total exhaustion, body and mind, the kind that gets into your sleep and makes you wake up already tired. He said he had come in late, come in quietly because he did not know if she was asleep, and gone to put his bag down and found the note on the pillow. He said he sat on the edge of the bed and read it. He said he read it twice. He said the second time he read it he was crying, and he did not completely know when that had started. She was not asleep. She had been pretending to be asleep because she knew he needed to find the note without her watching him find it. She understood that there are some moments that need to be private even between people who have decided not to be private with each other. After a few minutes she reached over and put her hand on his back. He didn't say anything. She didn't say anything. After a while he lay down and she moved close to him and they went to sleep. That is marriage, in its most ordinary and most sacred form. Two people in the dark, one note, no cameras, no 1,000 guests, no Paul McCartney. Just, I see you. I left this for you to find. I knew when you needed to find it alone. Travis Kelce, who played 14 years of NFL football, who caught passes in multiple Super Bowls, who built a career on the idea that the hard thing is always worth doing. Travis Kelce said the moment he found that note on his pillow was one of the top 5 moments of his life. I believe him. I would put it higher. Part 21. What the driveway in Euclid taught me. I want to come back to Euclid one more time. I keep coming back to it because it is where everything started. Where the boys started, where I started, as a mother, in the real way. Not the hospital way, the in the driveway, on a Saturday morning way. What I learned in that driveway watching Ed teach those boys. Love is a verb before it is anything else. It is something you do before it is something you feel, and the doing of it is what makes the feeling grow and hold and last past the point where it would otherwise have quit. You show up, in good weather and bad, in winning seasons and losing seasons, in the years when everything clicks and the years when nothing does. You show up in the driveway at 8 in the morning with a football and 2 boys who would rather be asleep, and you run the patterns anyway. You run the patterns anyway. Travis learned that on cracked asphalt in Euclid, Ohio, with his father, before he knew what he was learning. He ran it again on the morning of July 4th, 2026, when he turned off his alarm and sat on the edge of a hotel bed and made himself get up and go to camp. He ran it again when he found the note and cried, and she put her hand on his back without saying a word. He will run it again. On every morning that is hard, on every morning when the choice is expensive, on every morning when the 453 version of himself has to talk the rest of himself into getting up and being the man he said he was going to be. He will run it again. So will she. That is what I know. That is what the driveway in Euclid taught me to look for in the people my sons bring home. Not the shine, The staying power. Taylor Swift has the staying power. I knew it at 4:53 in the morning on the second day of her marriage. I know it more every day. Closing. From Donna. Hi. I'm Donna Kelce, Taylor Swift's mother-in-law. You stayed with me all the way to the end. Thank you for that. I want you to know something before you go. I know that most of what you see about this family is large. The stadiums and the stages and the headlines and the guest lists and the numbers that do not sound real because they are not the kind of numbers human beings were built to process. I know that when you look at Travis and Taylor, you are looking at something that exists in a category of visibility that almost nothing else occupies. I am his mother. I am her mother-in-law. When I look at them, I see a boy from Euclid, Ohio, who used to eat everything in my kitchen and drag his brother into trouble and wake up on Saturday mornings to run routes in a driveway because his father believed the patterns mattered. I see a woman who watched the fireworks alone on the second day of her marriage and wrote a note that made my son cry in the dark. I see two people who are trying to do the hardest thing there is, which is to love each other correctly, which is to love each other on purpose, which is to keep choosing each other when the choosing is not easy and the morning is early and the alarm has to be turned off before it rings so the other person can sleep. If this story reached you, if something in it felt familiar, felt true, felt like something you have lived or hoped for or known, I am glad. Pass it on. Share it with someone who needs to remember what the good kind of love looks like. Hit subscribe. There are more stories coming because this family keeps making them. I'm Donna Kelce, Taylor Swift's mother-in-law, and I am grateful. The end.